We got our ass kicked.
Surprise, motherfucker.
In my opinion, that sucks.
All right, what's happening, everybody? This is the Philly Experience Podcast. We are back. Happy New Year to all of you out there. Hopefully it's a good one for all of us for many reasons, and thankfully it's a new year for Philadelphia sports as well. As the Sixers are off to a hot start, we got to touch on them. 4-1, first place in the Eastern Conference officially, and wrap up this Eagles season. Very disappointing one for the most part overall. A lot of controversy going on with the quarterback, which we'll continue to touch on in the offseason. But one more game to be played, and that's against the Washington football team. And let's kick it off here, T. Obviously, a tough loss to the Dallas Cowboys. I thought we were going to win personally, but who knows with me? I'm always wrong this year. So don't take that. Don't take my word for it. But overall, you know, obviously Jalen Hurts turns the ball over twice late in the game. I think he had 3 overall, including that fumble, which was ticky-tacky. But nonetheless, it was a loss is a loss. And, you know, the defense, especially the secondary, struggled overall completely with Jaquette back there. That's a name that'll be sticking in our heads for a while. So, you know, wrapping up this season, the last game, what do you expect and what do you want to see as, you know, the 2020-2021 Philadelphia Eagles season wraps up?
Just give me my top 5 draft pick and just lay down. Just this was such a disappointing season overall. Let's be honest here, boys. I think Tanner was, out of everybody, was the only one that came in and said that, hey man, this ain't finna be a good season. I think out of all 3 of us. So Tanner, I got to give kudos to you. All right, you did the thing. All right, you were completely accurate in the fact that this season would be a horrible one, and it has been. From the structure of the roster, continuing to sign contracts to aging veterans that continue to not produce and they continue to be often injured, and now you're having to rely on practice squad and undrafted free agent guys moving forward, not to mention the fact of the regression of our supposed franchise quarterback Carson Wentz. Like this season overall has been a huge disappointment. As a matter of fact, I would have taken a bad season, but this season is historically bad given the fact that we probably played in the worst division in the history of the NFL. All right, come on, man. You mean to tell me that out of all 4 of us, there has to be one of us that has to represent the NFC East in the playoffs? Can't y'all substitute another deserving team instead of anybody from the NFC East? Because let's be honest here, whoever, the Giants, the Cowboys, or the football team, whoever comes out and goes to the playoffs, let's be honest here, they're going one and out. One game, and they're gonna get blown out. Okay, let's be honest here. Like this season just.
I understand, T. I feel you because there's a few deserving teams that will not make the playoffs. You got a matchup between the Cardinals and the Rams, who it seems like will be between 2 backup quarterbacks, and then you got the Dolphins over there. Fitzpatrick. He tested positive for COVID, so he will not be playing.
Oh, no!
The Dolphins as well. So there's quite a few teams out there that are fighting their way into the playoffs. I believe it's also the Ravens and the Browns and the Colts and the Titans too. All deserving teams, and one of those teams will not make it in. And then you have the NFC East, as you mentioned, in this game against the football team. I'm confused going into it because I have mixed emotions and feelings. I don't know. You never want the Eagles to lose, of course. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
What I'm saying is I would not be upset, obviously, if the Eagles lose. They get a higher draft pick.
Yes.
But it does. Matter of fact, it doesn't even matter if they lose. I say put Carson Wentz in. That's my opinion. See if he got more motivated. Seeing Jalen Hurts in, because it's a game that doesn't matter. But if we do beat the Washington football team, that means it's either the Giants or the Cowboys that get in, and they'll know who wins that game before us because we were shifted to the 8-20, I believe.
Oh my gosh, and that makes matters worse. That makes matters a whole lot worse, given the fact that, oh my gosh, now I got to wait an entire day for this horrible football team to finally play. Come on, man, that's just torture.
Yeah, so many snowballing effects with this team overall. I mean, you could look anywhere and start with, was it the bad drafting? Was it the bad coaching?
We can get into all that.
The roll.
Oh, we can definitely get into all that, man.
I'll throw it to Tanner. I want him to finish up his point there.
Yeah, no, I was saying if you say the Giants beat the Cowboys, lay off maybe a little bit. against the football team, or especially if the Cowboys win, then you got to go ahead and lay off the football team, because I do not want to see the Cowboys go ahead into the playoffs and have Jerry Jones say, "I told you so," and all this, like he was some sort of, genius when it comes to football, when he really needs to step back and maybe not talk so much when it comes to his quarterback as well.
Yeah, it's a good point there. Listen, Dwayne Haskins gets cut this week, and that, it's a big deal because the football team plays the Eagles this weekend. I was kind of looking forward to playing against Dwayne Haskins personally, but now it's either going to be Alex Smith or the backup quarterback Heineke. So we'll see. Dwayne Haskins obviously didn't play well at all versus the Carolina Panthers. Got benched in the second half, and overall terrible performance on his part. It's been an up and down season, mostly downs for him. And I don't know if he'll get another shot in this league going forward. We'll see, depending on if he changes.
A few teams have showed interest in Dwayne Haskins, and matter of fact, it was the Panthers, one of the teams that did show interest in Dwayne Haskins. But you have Heineke, I believe that's the name of the starter coming in for Washington if Alex Smith is not healthy enough to play. And this guy was taking college classes when he found out that he was going to be the possible starter for the football team, and he had to tell his professors that he was unable to finish his finals in order to play for the Washington football team.
What?
So there's a story going into that, and we're all familiar with the stories of quarterbacks coming into Philadelphia.
Oh, now, T, what's your point here on the Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, topic? I know there's obviously benefits both ways. Do you want to see Carson Wentz one final time before we move into the offseason? Do you want to see Jalen Hurts finish out this year and see what he's got in a meaningless game for the Eagles? What's your take on this?
Give me Jalen Hurts. Give me one more game to see what the kid has, and go into the offseason, with my evaluations, because I've seen Carson Wentz has had plenty of time to turn it around this season. I think he's had way more than necessary time to figure it out, and he hasn't. So I'm going to put him in the last game for him to seemingly think that he's figured it out after sitting on the bench for about 3 or 4 weeks. No, I'm good. Nope, sit your butt on the bench, get yourself together for the offseason, and come back a better player.
From the high draft pick perspective, I see where both of you are coming from. Of course, you want the higher draft pick at this point in time, and I think it's one of those picks where you can't really miss, regardless of your position.
And then also, not to interrupt you, Max, but another thing to bring up in terms of Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz. Let's say, for example, if the organization does have a plan to try to trade Carson Wentz in the offseason. If he plays, let's say he plays and he bombs. I mean, he looks like the same Carson Wentz that we've seen for the last 12 weeks, and he plays horrible. Now his trade stock is completely plummeted, and you can't get rid of that contract. So
true. I see where you're coming from there, and I do think there could be a possible package in this offseason for Carson Wentz in a trade.
Yep, and you have to consider all those things. If you're going to continue going forward with Jalen Hurts as an organization, then you have to make an executive decision in terms of what are you going to do with Carson Wentz. Now, me personally, if I was in charge, I know this may sound crazy, but I'm bringing Carson Wentz back for a competition. Here's the thing. And I think everybody needs to understand this, because I look.
Hold on a second. I said this a few shows ago, and you guys called me crazy for having a quarterback competition over here before the start of the next season. And now T's turned it around, and he's siding with me without even giving me credit. That's just ridiculous to me. And,
we know it's
I just
hard.
want to see what T says now, because maybe he just went back to that episode and he's just going to say every point I did.
Oh, stop.
Let's hear it, T.
Oh, stop. All right, so here's the thing. All right, I went back and I looked over Carson Wentz's career. All right, he's always been the prototypical quarterback that everybody's ever wanted. Tall quarterback with athletic ability, a huge arm. He's always been pretty much given a starting quarterback spot. He's hardly ever have to compete for a starting spot. Now, all of a sudden, even when he came in and got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, all right, we traded Sam Bradford away before the season even started, and Carson Wentz was the elated starter over Chase Daniels. So, look here. Carson Wentz has been given everything in his entire football career. This will be the one time where he actually has to fight for something. So let's see if he has it.
Yeah, I have a stat. Since we're talking about Carson Wentz, starting in his NFL career, Jalen Hurts 1-2, and Carson Wentz went 3-0 in their first 3 NFL career starts. Jalen Hurts 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Carson Wentz 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. You got a completion percentage of just about 55% for Jalen Hurts, 65% for Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts sacked 9 times, Carson sacked 4 times. Of course, the line is way different. But this is just a comparison of the 3 stats. And do you give Carson Wentz that one more game to see if, if he plays better? You have, I believe Deshaun Jackson might play in this game, or who knows, he might stub his toe getting out of the car, heading over to play for this game, because he did that flip in the end zone, and that hurt him for the rest of the game. So,
well, listen, compared to both of you guys, where I stand on this is I don't want a quarterback competition. I feel like that's not good for the team and the organization. Me personally, I want to go into my season, go into my training camp, go into my OTAs with a quarterback that I know it's going to be the future of the franchise, the go-to guy. And I think this organization needs to buy into either one of them and just ride them out the whole way. Whether that be Carson Wentz, whether that be Jalen Hurts. I mean, I feel like they just have to pick one and go with it. I mean, if it's not going to work out, you're going to have 2 bad seasons of football. It's just flat out. If Carson Wentz doesn't pan out and that's the direction you go, then you can finally get out under that contract 2 years from now. If you get rid of him, you're really hurting the cap situation, depending on if you trade him. And who knows with Jalen Hurts? I mean, he's shown flashes, but is he really that franchise guy? We don't know. I just feel like there's more question marks with Hurts compared to there is with Wentz.
I do think Jalen Hurts is a definite leader in the NFL, especially the way he just holds himself when he's talking to the press. He knows his answers, and he doesn't want to start any drama when they ask him if, after his first game, if he was going to be the starter for the next game. He did not want to go into that. He said, you'll have to ask Doug Peterson, and he's just really smart. And with what he's saying, he really thinks about what he's saying. He's a leader. And there was already a quarterback competition leading up until Carson Wentz was benched, because in practice, that these coaches and the team saw how good Jalen Hurts was and how much better he was than Carson Wentz in practice, because Jalen Hurts was practicing with these guys that we're seeing right now at wide receiver and how good that they click. And it's perfect with the way that they connected in practice. And then we were able to see it in the game where he started and going forward.
That's a good point. That's definitely an excellent point that you brought up. But here's my thing, man. I understand what you're saying. You don't want no quarterback competition, especially in terms of your franchise. You want your guys going in knowing who the quarterback's going to be, and you want him to take that leadership panel.
Exactly.
And I completely understand that. In terms of Jalen Hurts and what he brings in his maturity, I mean, he was a part of 2 huge programs in college. He was a part of that Alabama program at first, and then Tua took over, and then he transferred over to Oklahoma, another huge school in the college ranks. So he's used to being in the spotlight. Like, he's used to this. That's the thing with Carson Wentz. He came from North Dakota State. He's not used to having cameras in his face all crazy and whatnot and reporters always on his back. He's not used to that type of life. Let's be honest here. Like, not every athlete is built to play in Philadelphia. Let's just get that out the way right now. Every athlete just can't make it in this city. All right. Now, it's also disappointing and it goes into another point where we really have to start looking at this coaching staff in terms of the development of players. And, there's a reason why we have Doug Peterson in our background, because, look, I was tossing it back and forth for the past 2 weeks, maybe discussing with myself whether or not I wanted Doug Peterson back or not. We've already made a decision on Howie Roseman. We all said we want Howie Roseman going. He can go, But in terms of Doug Peterson, did I really want to bring Doug Peterson back? And I had to think about it for a minute, for a long, because yes, he did bring us a Super Bowl, and I give him credit for that. He's done something in this city that, no other head coach has ever done before. But here's the thing, and here's the reason why I'm going to say you need to get rid of Doug Peterson. I need player development. There has been no player development within the Philadelphia Eagles organization over the tenure of Doug Peterson. All right. Think of all the players that's been drafted while Doug Peterson has been here, while this coaching staff under Doug Peterson has been here. There is no young player development. We have not had and drafted a Pro Bowl player since Carson Wentz. That's Carson Wentz out of 30, I think it was 38 players, is the only Pro Bowl player that we've drafted. That's ridiculous.
Now, T, could you blame it on the players that were drafted, and could you say that they could not have been developed, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside?
And that is
he did a great job, in my opinion. Doug Peterson did a great job with having Jalen Hurts ready for his NFL start and the plays that he was giving out. And you could tell that maybe it was Carson Wentz. Obviously, it was changing the plays a little bit because he felt that he had more control. And there's just a lot of drama in the locker room. There was drama last year. Now there's drama. We've seen it already when Chip Kelly was here with the staff and the front office. And there's just this team is full of drama. And I understand what Max is saying. He doesn't want this quarterback competition and the drama behind that. But in my opinion, I think you go through next year with this competition. And then for the next 11 years, you have, because in my opinion, I think Jalen Hurts would win out at this point. I'm still a Carson Wentz fan, but the way that he's been playing, I think that if Jalen Hurts would to win the competition between them two, it'd be the next 12 years we'd have Jalen Hurts, and then we wouldn't think about quarterback competition. Hopefully, if we get this better line.
Yeah, that's true, man.
That's true. It's a good point. I feel like, if you can't get rid of Carson Wentz, that's where I stand on it. I don't think we're going to get rid of him. There might be rumors about it. It's going to be one of the more interesting things in the NFL this offseason. Point blank for me, I don't think you can get rid of the player in Carson Wentz. I think he's going to be here. Now, your guys' point where you say quarterback competition, that's where that leads me to believe there might be one, because of the fact that they're not just going to go turn and trade Jalen Hurts away this offseason. I just couldn't see them doing that. But overall,
and it would hurt us.
It would.
It would hurt us. We'd look back at it and grit our teeth every time we'd have to see Jalen Hurts and face him. That's just how it is, and that's how this Eagles team is. And we go through it all the time with players that we had and then let go, and it's just a thing that happens.
Now, I don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to become a superstar in this league. I know everybody has mentioned his talents, and I get that. I think personally, from watching him in the first couple games, he should be running the football more. That's where his strength was. One of the reasons why he was benched at Alabama in favor of Tua Tagovailoa was the fact that he couldn't throw the football with accuracy. He couldn't throw it well. Now, he corrected that at Oklahoma, in big part, in my opinion, because of Lincoln Riley, how great he is with college quarterbacks at Oklahoma there. But he's a running quarterback first, and I want to see him use that to his ability. He didn't run as much as I thought he could have in that Dallas Cowboy game. And people said, he ran 18 times or whatever it was against the Saints, and he should, take less rushing attempts moving forward. I understand that, but at the end of the day, if you want to win football games, you got to play to your strengths. And one of the things he does well is run. I get it. You don't want to see your quarterback get hit all those times, but listen, Lamar Jackson's been doing it, 2-3 years now, and they're a perennial playoff team every single year there in Baltimore. So this is going to be one of the more interesting things in the off season. And, I'm back and forth here on the seesaw, because you see things in Carson Wentz. It's like, wow, okay, past talent, has attributes that you love in a quarterback. Team mentions it, obviously the size, the arm strength, but then you watch him this season on film, the decision making is poor. A couple of passes where he wasn't on the same page. We can go and dive into the specifics about the Cleveland Browns game where everything just looks sloppy in that rainstorm. You look at the Seattle game at home where a couple of passes in the red zone, specifically the pass to Dallas Goedert, where he just wasn't even close and it gets picked off in the end zone there, things like that. So it's just so weird that you have a player that's with his talent and he turns around and now he is what he is now. So the only thing that I can think of to fix that is you're not getting out of this contract. He's going to be on this team. Now the question is, how do you fix it? You got to get a new coach. And as much as I love Doug and what he's done here, I just don't think he's the right guy moving forward in order to fix Carson Wentz, because obviously there's a disconnect there, coach-player relationship. I just feel like Doug, models his play calling better, and it's better suited for Jalen Hurts compared to Carson Wentz at this point, because we've seen it. We all agree Carson Wentz, his running ability is diminished over the past few seasons. You're not going to see him make those incredible rushing plays that he's done in the past going forward, but I still think there's talent there. And just to wrap up this whole point here, unless you guys want to add something more, a new coach, now again, GM comes into play here too, but a new coach, a new system, offensively, and I want a quarterback-minded football coach. And there's been rumors of a bunch of different guys. Obviously, Eric Bieniemy there in Kansas City, and you also have Lincoln Riley. Even I've heard a few times because of his connection with Jalen Hurts there at Oklahoma, he can come in. That would just cause even more chaos if you're going to keep both of them. But I know you guys want to see competition. I could see that definitely playing out because I don't see either of these guys getting traded. But overall, you're invested so much in Carson Wentz. I think you need to be able to, uncover and get back what he once was, at least some of it, moving forward, if you want to win football games. If not, then we're not going to be good for a couple of years. And that's where I go back to that snowball effect, where you don't draft Justin Jefferson. You draft J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf. You have injuries to Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson. Jason Peters isn't what you thought he could have been, thinking in the offseason. We're like, oh, okay, Jason Peters, maybe he can step up and play a good right guard. Obviously, that went downhill within the first week. Then you also look at the Jack Driscoll, Prince Tego Wawu, whatever his last name is. You thought, okay, we have depth there at the tackle position. Obviously, Driscoll gets hurt. Prince Tega, obviously not ready to play in this league yet, or else he would have gotten the opportunity. So all of that snowballs into what it is now, and that's a 4-10-1 team. Now, you could look back on the Washington game and say, okay, you're going to lose games here and there. It's a close one. Played a sloppy second half. You're going to lose to the Rams at home week 2. They're just a powerhouse of a team. I get it. Even though they're struggling to make the playoffs, they lost to the Jets, but there's still talent all over that team with a good coach. The key for me was that week 3 game against Cincinnati, where you come back home in the Link and you tie the Cincinnati Bengals, and some of the decisions that Doug Peterson made, coaching and when to go for it, when not to go for it, when to kick the field goal. I mean, it's been all over the place. There's been no consistency with it. And once that game happened and we tied, it was like, okay, like the season might be going downhill faster than we think.
See, that's my thing. You brought up another point in terms of Doug Peterson, and that's some of his decision making. Like sometimes, Doug, you just need to just kick the field goal. I understand Jake Elliott's been struggling in this entire season, but look, man, just keep it simple. Stop going for it like 4th and 15s and 4th and 20s. Like, come on, coach. Come on, man. No, that's not. No, you stop with the gut feeling. All right.
There's going to be some serious overhaul with this team, whether it be the quarterback situation, whether it be the coaching staff, Jim Schwartz, who, again, I go back to this, I'm a fan of. I think he's a good defensive coordinator.
What is wrong with you?
See, I know you don't like him. I know you don't like him. Listen, not
You
all this
dumbass.
blame can be on him. I know he has to make adjustments better, but listen, in his defense, he tried man in that Dallas game. He tried zone in that. He tried bringing some pressure.
He tried?
In that Dallas game.
Trying? No.
Hold on. When you have Jaquette guarding Amari Cooper,
A guy selling tires.
and then
Oh, just
you're like,
the
we know it's
okay,
hard.
Amari Cooper, and Jim Schwartz is like, well, Amari Cooper's going off in the first half. Let me move Slay onto Amari Cooper, and then all of a sudden you have CD Lamb, who scores 2 touchdowns there in the second half. There's just so much you can do. Obviously, Rodney McLeod's out, and the list goes on and on. We don't have to dive into every single name with the injuries here, but Fletcher Cox, who might not even play Sunday night with the neck injury. I mean, overall, this defense is shattered with injuries, and I blame the GM. I'm blaming the GM more than I blame the head coach or the defensive coordinator, because the defense coordinator won a Super Bowl and his scheme worked. You just have to have players that fit the scheme and are good football players, and we maybe have 2 or 3 guys on that defense that are actually solid NFL caliber, players. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and then you have Darius Slay. I mean, who else are you really looking at and saying, okay, these are guys are NFL? I know, and Rodney McLeod got hurt. You can add him. But listen, what are you going to have? 4 or 5 guys? And that's only 11 starters. You have to have depth there as well. We don't have any of that. Our depth is literally practice squad guys like Jaquette. That's what you get when you put Jaquette in. Yeah, I did it on purpose. There's a rhyme right there. That's what you get when you put Jaquette in the game. And that's, going to result in a
Because that guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
As Jim Schwartz deserves some of the blame? Of course he does. Listen, he doesn't bring pressure when he should bring pressure. He plays zone when he should play man. Of course, I get it. There's times, and even Doug Peterson with his play calling, it's been like I said, this whole thing goes back to the snowball effect. That should be the topic of this, the snowball effect of this episode, because it's all over the place. It's not just one spot on this team. But if you hear look around the league and hear other people talk, execs, they don't think Jim Schwartz is a bad defensive coordinator. Now, he might get kicked out day one when the season's over, but I don't think overall if he's a bad defensive coordinator if you have guys that fit his scheme. Now, you can say all the things you want. Oh, he with his play calling and bringing blitzes, I get it. And because you're the film guy, better than I do when you go back and watch the film, where I could be wrong here, but that's what I'm seeing from the outside looking in.
Okay, I agree with you in terms of what he's working with in the talent. I completely agree with you. He does not have a whole lot to work with.
Alex Singleton's your best linebacker, too. This man played Canadian football for how many years?
Listen, you get no argument on me in terms of what talent that Jim Schwartz has had to work with. Here's where the disconnect begins. So let's go back to the Super Bowl, shall we? Let's go to that, wonderful victory that everybody seems to forget. The fact that Tom Brady broke a record on his defense, throwing for over 500 yards, in which wide receivers were more wide open than...
But T, listen.
Wide receivers were more wide open than the Sahara Desert.
They don't get to that Super Bowl game if their defense doesn't step up and hold the Falcons to 9 points when Nick Foles was playing poorly in that wild card game or whatever. Or no, not the wild card, divisional round. Because Matt Ryan comes down to the last play, Julio Jones in the back of the end zone. If Jalen Mills isn't there to try to defend that and make a play,
that's fine.
We're going home. We're going home as a 1 seed.
That's fine. And also the blowout, the blowout
of the Vikings.
Of the Vikings. Listen, these are wonderful victories that you can add to Jim Schwartz's resume. Okay, I'm not arguing that. Here's my thing, though. It's the inconsistency. And if you see a problem and you don't fix it, that's where I get pissed off and that's where I get irritated. So let's go back to this Cowboys game. All right. Yes, Michael Jacquet should not have been in that game. All right. He was getting destroyed by Michael Gallup. There is no doubt about that. But why the hell did it take 3 quarters for you to move Jalen Mills to a corner and stop Michael Gallup from causing damage to us? Why did it take 3 damn quarters? It should have took you 1. If that, if you seen that he was getting burned multiple times. I mean, shoot, the first drive, they were marching down the field. Come on now.
Andy Dalton throw for 377. I get it.
You made Andy Dalton look like the second coming of Peyton Manning. Come on now.
We don't have any corners, and this is why it's more the GM's fault than it is the defensive coordinator. Because if we had depth, if we had kept Sidney Jones, if we had kept Rasul Douglas,
I agree
we wouldn't
with
have
you.
this issue. We wouldn't have the Jacquets of the world on the field. So it's the GM's fault. The drafting has been atrocious. If he keeps one of those guys, and one of them pans out to be a good corner, we don't have to pay Darius Slay $60 million to come in here and play.
And here,
on top of that, he signs a defensive lineman like Hargrave. We didn't really even need him. We already had Malik Jackson and Fletcher Cox. Get a linebacker, get a safety, get a corner. Use that money that we paid Hargrave, who really hasn't done jack this year, to be honest with you. He made a couple of plays, but he hasn't really stepped up. And I'm looking on the screen each week. I'm like, wow, look at that play from Hargrave. He hasn't really done much. You'd rather have a linebacker. You'd rather have a corner to step up and shut these guys down, which we don't have, which is why it's the GM's fault.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. It can be the GM's fault. Okay, but here's where coaching also shares that same blame. Okay, so let's go back to the fact that you said that we had Sidney Jones and we had Rasul Douglas. Now, Rasul Douglas is doing pretty decent in Carolina now. All right, he's playing pretty decent. And Sidney Jones is leading the team in interceptions in Jacksonville. Are you kidding me right now?
Yep.
That goes back to coaching. All right, you didn't play these guys. You didn't develop these guys. You just straight up said, "Oh, these aren't my guys, and I don't want them," and got rid of them. No,
I agree. No, you're right. They have stepped up, and I don't know. Is that coaching? It could be. Is that just not using them in the right scheme, the right situations? I get it. And let's
bring up another coaching point. Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball for a second. Get this. And they showed this on the screen, and I was so irritated when I seen this, watching that Las Vegas Raiders game. Do y'all know Nelson Aguilar has had 3 100-plus yard games this season, and he only had 300-yard games with the Philadelphia Eagles in his 5 seasons? That's coaching.
Let's not forget, we were all calling for Jalen Mills and his head when he couldn't play cornerback. That's the reason he's playing safety. So let's not. I get it, he's better than Jacquet, but let's not make Jalen Mills out to be the next, Deion Sanders out here.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I was just trying to prove a point.
He's a safety, and I tell you what, he hasn't been that good of a damn safety either way, regardless. But he's better than Jacquet, which I agree with you. Stupid. So I see why you could say he should have been on Amari Cooper earlier in the game. But at the end of the day, the Gallup, CD Lamb, Amari Cooper, just too much firepower. And when Andy Dalton, who, at this point in his career, he never really was a star. He was been a serviceable guy, almost like Alex Smith 2.0, in my opinion. But when you let him throw for 377 against you, things aren't going to work out. Let me ask you this question. Deshaun Jackson catches an 81-yard bomb, and I don't think he saw the field the rest of the game. What happened there?
I am pissed off.
He hurt himself. I said he hurt himself flipping. This is legit. He did hurt himself when he flipped into the end zone. No, he hurt himself when he flipped into the end zone. He had tightness.
He played a couple more snaps after that touchdown. Yeah. I did see him, but he was a no-show.
He messed himself up. He doesn't learn that he's an old man now in the NFL.
Let me touch on this thing, because there's people out there saying we need to get younger. We need to have more depth at the wide receiver position. I agree with that. But here's the thing. We have Deshaun Jackson on contract. We have Alshon Jeffrey on contract for next season. If you cut these guys, that's $16 million in the hole, on top of the fact that we're going back and forth with Carson Wentz. That could be $40+ million in the hole if we cut or trade those 3 guys. So obviously you don't want to have that ever. But the thing about this is, are those 2 guys going to be coming back? And is that going to handcuff us the rest of the way going forward to the next year, depending on if we draft Devontae Smith or not? Now, that's obviously my pick. I talked about this on the Bird's Nest with Tanner. I want Devontae Smith. You're going to watch him play in the semifinal and in the final, probably the college football playoff. And you guys can see for yourself how good he is. I'm sure the tape speaks for itself. But overall, he's the best receiver in the draft by far. And it just sickens me that we could have him possibly along with Justin Jefferson if we just made the right pick last year, which is why this all comes back to the general manager and the fact that he should be fired because he can't evaluate talent. All he does is look at the combine. He looks at the combine. I mean, listen, as college football fans out there, and we're no experts, but we watch the games. If you watch the games in college football, you can tell skill position wise, Devontae Smith, and I'm not saying lineman. Like I go back to that too. I get it. You judge a lineman better than myself and Tanner completely. I agree. I can't sit here and be like, oh wow, that's a good offensive defensive lineman. But I can see when a wide receiver is the fastest guy on the field, it's not that hard.
I hear you.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Would you be upset if the Eagles fell and got Jamar Chase instead?
I wouldn't be mad at either selection.
Why would we do that? You mean trade the pick and get more assets? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that. I mean, go back to last year, Max. Who'd we draft instead of Justin Jefferson? We got Jalen Reagor. Obviously, Justin Jefferson was ranked higher than Jalen Reagor, and if we still have Howie Roseman up there, that could quite possibly happen too.
Point.
Now, Jamar Chase is not. We know Jamar Chase. He's not a Jalen Reagor,
right?
Because when Reagor he was drafted, we were like, who? Yeah, but it could quite possibly happen. Something above us could happen as well. We don't know.
Tell you what, now I said this on the Bird's Nest, in my opinion, Jalen Reagor fits better in the slot. Obviously, he was drafted to be a speed deep threat. Where do you see him fitting in here? I haven't really seen either one. He's kind of like one of those tweeners where he could be a deep threat, but he can also be shifty in the slot. Where do you see him going forward?
It's hard to say what Jalen Reagor is because in college, he didn't really have a really good quarterback coming out in his senior season. So it's really hard to say what he is. I mean, honestly, at this point, he's barely even a good gadget player because I don't know if you guys remember, but it was a 4th down play. And Jalen Hurts had threw the ball to Jalen Reagor. I mean, he had nothing but wide open green grass in front of him. All he had to do was make a guy miss. And as a gadget player and as a speed guy, you're expected to make that guy miss, and he didn't. He just let him tackle him. And I'm just sitting here going, well, dude, are you kidding me right now? You were a one-on-one. You break that tackle, you have nothing but green grass in front of you. If you fight after the tackle, like, come on now. I don't know what Jalen Reagor is at this point. I just don't.
GM, if you're not going to get a new GM, you need to get somebody else to evaluate these guys better and maybe work with, Howie Roseman, more compatibly because of the fact that Doug Peterson came out of the press conference about a couple of days ago and said that he didn't have really any say in evaluating these players and making calls
on
player draft picks, right, or whatever. So personally, I think if it's not going to be a new GM, you have to have Doug give him more say because ultimately he's the one coaching the team and he can probably evaluate talent better than the GM himself can. So overall, you need a receiver, and I think we can all agree with that. But again, I go back to the fact that you really can't miss because if they do draft Michael Parsons from Penn State, am I going to be upset? No, because that's probably our second biggest position of need behind the cornerback spot. And now Patrick Surtain, another guy from Alabama, he could be there depending on how high we get because I think we can get as high as 3rd or as low as 10th, I believe.
Yep.
We can get. We are in a good position drafting wise for especially where we will be on the draft board, but cornerback wise, we draft a player. He has now the ability to be under Darius Slay, and watch him and learn from Darius Slay as well. So that helps us out. But going before the season started, seeing how the season went last season, previously, why not make more moves? And why now are we surprised on the way that this team has played this season? I'm confused in that aspect that we thought Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey were going to be the answer at wide receiver, especially too. And the way that this line has performed, bringing back Jason Peters, you thought that was going to fix things. And it's just ridiculous to me that this team was sort of just filling holes, multiple holes with just tape. Scotch tape, and
it really is brutal because you look at it. Good. Look at your first three picks in the first 3 rounds. You draft the guy that can't play really well so far. At least that's what he's shown on tape. He was also hurt with his thumb for a lot of the year as well. Then you draft a backup quarterback who didn't see the field barely at all. That's your 2nd round pick out the window. And then you draft a guy that can't even play football in the 3rd round in Davion Taylor. So I mean, there's your first 3 picks of the first 3 rounds, and you come out of it with empty. You come out of it with zilch, nothing. And then you go later on in the draft, you try to draft a couple offensive linemen, and obviously we know how that goes. But again, this all goes back to the general manager. Please,
it does.
I get it. We can't keep harping on the Super Bowl and the fact that he won. I get it. Howie Roseman, he made good moves. He was a cap guy, cap genius, so to speak. And now look where we are in the cap. Now we're screwed in the cap situation. So what does he really bring to the table? Not much. And I feel like it's a guy that's not really mentioned. He's not out in the media a lot. Doug's taking all the heat in these press conferences. He's never talking to the media a lot. Same thing with Jeffrey Lurie. These guys don't speak. You have Jerry Jones talking on Dallas sports radio every single week about the game. You don't hear a peep from Jeffrey Lurie the whole season, maybe once or twice.
I want me some glory hole.
It's just, you have to look at the general manager here, and if he's not gone when the season ends, expect to have another poor draft, at least for the most part, because like I said, the first round pick you can't really miss with all the positions we need. But as you go on, what makes a good general manager is the cap situation and how to handle it, but also hitting those later diamonds in the rough in the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds. That's what makes your team good overall.
And listen, I me, I completely agree with you. For me, that's where a team is really built, and that is through the draft. I mean, let's just think about this for a minute. We're about to go into the next season with a 7th-round draft pick as our franchise left tackle because our 1st-round draft pick couldn't beat out the old guy, couldn't play better than him, and apparently can't stay healthy either. Let's think about this for a minute. Like, it's horrendous the way drafting has been conducted this entire Doug Peterson era. It's been highly disappointing.
Said he's happy with going into the next season with the fact that Brooks, Johnson will all be healthy as well as Andre Dillard. So overall, you got to think to yourself, will the offensive line be in better shape for Carson or Jalen Hurts? You would expect so, but ultimately there's so many holes, and we'll figure that out. But I want to move on here. There's been a lot of Eagles talk, of course, because of how disappointing we've been. Tanner, let's go with you first here. We touch on these actual good football teams this year, and that'll be then race for the MVP. We're talking about a rough outing against the Atlanta Falcons last week, and Rodgers has been great all season long. So where are you going here?
Yeah, for me, it's obvious at this point. I'm just gonna take this shirt off and show my Green Bay Packers colors because Aaron Rodgers.
No, you didn't.
Front runner for MVP.
No, you
Here
didn't.
We go.
What is wrong with you?
He crushed the Titans. I understand it was in the snow, but he just 4 passes went. He was 21 of 25, 231 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had that 1 interception. When he steps on the field, there's just a 1%.
What is going on back there?
Throwing an interception. That's 44 touchdowns. Just 5 interceptions.
I'm still in
QBR.
shock.
First in touchdowns, first in QBR, 119%. That he's MVP. He's back to his 2010, 2011 days. This guy's 37 years old. He saw his own team draft a quarterback in the 1st round instead of a wide receiver. And you know what he did?
Familiar.
He
sounds
played
familiar.
like an MVP. It just shows you how good players take advantage of situations and how average players sort of sink in to the ground. And that's, they were like, no, the Packers aren't going to go anywhere. No wide receiver help for years. Until, they obviously drafted Devontae Adams, which the Eagles had the opportunity to, but we're done with this Eagles team right now. And Aaron Rodgers, surprising people, not surprising me because I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. And Aaron Rodgers, MVP. I'm stamping it right now.
All right.
David Bakhtiari's out the rest of the season, the left tackle for the Green Bay Packers.
That hasn't affected them.
That's the crazy part, man. Like Jana said, it hasn't affected them. Aaron Rodgers.
That's the thing. It just happened the other day in practice, though. But how's that going to affect them going forward? Because they haven't been without him yet this season.
They went without him.
Yeah, they went without him.
Games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So
and Rodgers' stats have been insane in those games where he missed. I'll give you that 100%. But this is different. This is playoff football. Where do you see it going forward here?
It's
so
no
you
doubt.
Still going Rodgers?
Oh yeah, I'm still going Rodgers, man. I think it's absolutely egregious the fact that Tanner is now wearing a Green Bay Packers Aaron Rodgers jersey.
Hey,
I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Might be different,
That is
but the colors are still the same.
No, they're not. You know what? Whatever. Let's just get back to the matter at hand. I'm so pissed off with you for other obvious reasons, but we're gonna get into that later.
Wait till we get into the Sixers.
Oh God, here we go. Ooh. But anyway, so yes, I'm going with Aaron Rodgers as my MVP. It's like Max said, they drafted it was Tanner. Like they said, they drafted a quarterback and he hasn't missed not one beat. As a matter of fact, he's bettered his game. As a matter of fact, regardless of the fact that, he only has Devontae Adams as a wide receiver, he's working with the receivers that he has now. Not to mention the fact that I've always been envious of that Green Bay Packers defense. I've always loved the way, they fly to the ball and how they rush after the passer. For me, it's a thing of beauty.
An underrated Packers defense, and I feel like people don't give them enough credit. They have so many guys on the back end there. Kevin King, they have Darnell Savage, Jair Alexander, and then they have Preston Smith as a Darius Smith on the edges. good defense, and that's why they're going to be good. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. Rodgers, in my opinion, again, I agree with you guys. Definitely the MVP front runner right now. He's turned Devontae Adams into the best receiver in football. You know, it was argument. Are you going to talk about DeAndre Hopkins as the best? Or are you going to talk about Adams as the best? AB, when he was with Pittsburgh, is he the best? He's definitely made a statement now.
Do you think there's a possibility that Patty Mahomes or Josh Allen come close? And who's a close second
Josh Allen,
Josh Allen?
Yeah, I'd say Josh Allen, just because he put on a show against the Patriots defense and Bill Belichick on Monday Night Football last week. But Patrick Mahomes didn't finish the regular season well against the Falcons, almost lost. If they make the field goal there, Atlanta, then it's a tie game. Yeah. Also, Patrick Mahomes will not play in the last week of the regular season to pad his stats. So it's going to come down to Allen or Rodgers. And as long as Rodgers looks good, looks serviceable, looks average at the worst in this game coming up on Sunday against the Bears, he should have the MVP.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys, now we talked MVP, let's talk Rookie of the Year for you guys. Who, in your opinion, I'm going to go with Herbert, and I feel like he's a good choice for that, but there still are some, that's what we've come to now, a quarterback MVP, Rookie of the Year. We saw Kyler Murray last year, who surprised me. I thought maybe Sanders had when Sanders was rookie in that aspect,
Yeah. Listen, it's always going to be a quarterback. I think Tua, hasn't really showed much. Actually, Fitzpatrick has honestly been better. So I thought maybe if Tua started the season earlier, because I know Herbert missed the first few games there, if they kind of started around the same time. Obviously, the Dolphins have been hot. I don't know if the Dolphins are in the position they are in without Fitzpatrick because of what he's done the few times that he's actually been put into the game where Tua's been taken out. And then you also have to look at Joe Burrow, going down in that season. His stats would have been pretty high, pretty much maybe even higher than Herbert because he played a full season. But because of that, I think you have to make Herbert the favorite, even though the record really isn't there to back it up. I know
Herbert, a lot of the Chargers 6-9.
Anthony Lynn hasn't played well or hasn't coached well.
28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for Justin Herbert. He's got a QBR 96.3. He's been impressive, and you can see when he's playing, he does know how to take command of a team. But also, of course, you can see his rookie mistakes being made. But that game against the Raiders really proved to me that this guy is the Rookie of the Year. And now they're on a, I believe 3-game win streak.
Yep.
Yeah, they're finishing the season hot.
I believe so.
Yeah. So I also want to just throw in here Justin Jefferson. He could be up there too. I know he's a receiver, but he's been going crazy this year with Minnesota. Even though Adam Thielen's still the number one, they're probably the stats don't lie. Justin Jefferson over 1,200 receiving yards this season. It's kind of ridiculous considering the Eagles could use that. But that's neither here nor there. We're done with the Eagles.
I'll give you guys an underrated one. He's not going to get it, unfortunately, but I think he should because I think he's completely revamped the defense, and that is Chase Young. Man, Chase Young has been added to a defensive line that was already dominant from the start, but now you added Chase Young, and the Washington football team is a team to be feared going forward in the NFC East. Like they are really building their defense up.
Yeah, they have Bostic, the linebacker. They have a couple guys on the back end there.
They still have Ryan Kerrigan.
Still. I think they have like 4 or 5 first-round picks on that defensive line, which is pretty crazy to think about. But
see what happens when you build your interior and you build out. See what happens when you draft the big guys. Yeah. Show some love for the big guys, man.
Defensive players have a hard time becoming defensive player of the year we're talking about because you got especially TJ Watt, really impressive for the Steelers over there. Then always every year it's like Aaron Donald.
Yep.
And you got a bunch of other players there. So it's very competitive defensively. But Chase Young, we saw it coming out of the draft. You knew he was going to be a problem, especially for the Eagles with this offensive line. And he is a game changer.
Yeah, let's also throw the Super Bowl predictions in here real fast. I want to get your guys' thoughts as the regular season comes down to its last week of the year. I'll go with Tanner first and then T. Super Bowl predictions. Only a few options, in my opinion. I don't think it's that wide open.
Nah.
Yeah, this could be sort of an emotional pick, but I do think that it will be the Packers for the NFC in the Super Bowl. But I'm going between the Chiefs and the Bills because one thing, I go to the Bills, and I know Josh Allen's playing really good this season, but I go back to last year and how the plays that he made last year in the playoffs, they just were not smart, throwing the ball before going out of bounds. I believe that was a fumble where he just tossed it. And the Chiefs aren't being talked about as much this season, and that's for sure. There's a lot going on around the season. I do think maybe the Chiefs will get the edge and they'll go to the Super Bowl. Chiefs versus Packers. Either way, it'll be 2 MVP candidates facing off, in my opinion.
Yep.
I agree with you in terms of Green Bay, and I have made my decision in terms of who exactly is going to go from the AFC side. All right, I was going to lean towards the previous Super Bowl winner, and that is being the Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm feeling a little indifferent this year. I'm feeling indifferent, and you know what? I think it's time that a new king of the AFC, all right, starts to reign, and it's not going to be the Chiefs. I think it's going to be Bills Mafia up in this piece. I think that the Buffalo Bills, the way they play their offense and defense together, the way they play together, that defense is dominant. They fly, well, except for Josh Norman. We ain't going to talk about that right now. But anyway, the way that defense plays and the way that offense has come together and the way Josh Allen has developed as quickly as he has, I got the Bills. I got the Bills going to the Super Bowl.
Hold on, you're already taking the crown off the Chiefs for being atop the AFC, but they just received that crown not but 2 seasons ago with the Patriots. Obviously, we had to deal with that, but the Chiefs are going to be here for a while. By the way, they drafted. By the way, that they have these contracts set up, and that's going to go in their favor. Patrick Mahomes, with the record contract that he received, he'll be in the talk for MVP, and they'll be in the talk for the Super Bowl for years to come.
No doubt.
And I just think that I think the Chiefs will get the edge over the Bills, but I'm not mad at your Bills versus Packers prediction at all.
That's what I'm going with.
I like both of those. I really do. I think they're both real possibilities. I want to say that my opinion that the Saints, I feel like the Saints, they're going to the Super Bowl this year. I just feel like they're better than the Packers overall. I think their team overall, obviously Rodgers is on a different planet right now, but I think the Saints defense is much better than the Packers. And, Drew Brees, as long as he can make a couple plays, with Kamara there in the backfield and Michael Thomas, who knows if he can finally get healthy this year, they could be an issue. So I have the Saints in the NFC, and then I want to throw out, obviously, between the Bills and the Chiefs, and I've been back and forth here. I just don't think I can go with the Bills yet. See, I do like what I see from Josh Allen. Patty Mahomes just not ending the season on a high note, which is kind of concerns me. But I do want to add in one team that's kind of flown under the radar. They've been playing poorly the last few weeks. They're getting hammered in the national media about how bad they've been playing, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
I just feel like Big Ben with his, with the way he's been playing lately isn't good, but with his experience and the receivers they have, the weapons in Juju and Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, he's been great this year. Their defense has been pretty solid, top 5. I know they lost a few guys, Bud Dupree being one of them on the defensive end there in position. So I think, who knows, right? I mean, it's not the sexy pick, but I do think they have a shot.
If you keep Juju away from TikTok, maybe that's even a more possibility. And for the Saints, this isn't the best Saints team that we've seen even in the last 3 years.
Man, that's ludicrous.
The Saints always fall short, and that might be at fault of the referees on the field. We have one of those players that was involved on the Rams, and it was Roby Coleman with that obvious pass interference. And it seems like every year the Saints get ripped off, and I think this year I don't think they're going to make it to the conference.
It's possible. No, I agree. It is possible. But I see where you're coming from there, and I do agree that could be a possible thing. But I do think that if the Packers lose and the Saints win, the Saints get that 1 seed, and everybody has to go through New Orleans in that dome, it's just a different animal. I know that the Packers blew them out actually earlier this season in New Orleans. I get that, but I don't know. Drew Brees in the playoffs. I don't quit on this guy yet. I still think that I know he's
getting up there in age.
He is,
of course, but. I'm a fan of Drew, and I think that maybe he can end his career if this is it on a high note.
Right, the roster that they have, it will be a disappointment that they have not made the Super Bowl in the last 5 years. It's just a disappointment to me. You got Alvin Kamara, Cameron on defense. It's just Drew Brees. You got all these weapons, Michael Thomas. And you got Sanders too. And it's just ridiculous that they
one of the best innovators.
Obviously, we mentioned to them getting ripped off, and I wouldn't be mad seeing the Saints in there, especially because Drew Brees.
No, absolutely not. Not to mention the fact that you have one of the best offensive innovators in the game, and Sean Payton, still calling those plays and still able to, get production out of these guys and change up that playbook every year. It's astounding to me. So, I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints make it either, but I still lean towards Green Bay because right now, Aaron, see, Drew Brees has been really injuries, and he's been kind of up and down this season. So that's why I'm kind of leaning more towards the Packers. But
they're taken care of at quarterback, though. The Saints, they got Jameis Winston. They obviously like playing with Taysom Hill. I'm not saying that these guys are great, but I'm saying when Carson Wentz went down last year, who did we have? Josh McGowan.
Yeah, that's true. That's
and
very
the
true.
Saints are sent that way. But also, let's not forget the Seattle Seahawks, a team that I thought was going to the Super Bowl game 2 of this season. And I thought Russ was going to get finally an MVP vote. Doesn't look like it's going that way. It's not trending that way at all.
Once they lost to the
and
Giants,
that's disappointing.
Yeah. That's when things started going downhill for the season.
But do not forget the Seahawks in the playoffs. They're always a competitive team. Jamal Adams finally made it to the playoffs after being on the Jets. And that's just great for them. But they're a competitive team, and I don't expect them to go out without a fight.
Real quick before we hit the Sixers topic here, who wins the NFC East?
Washington, please put us out of our misery. Also beat us because I don't want to see the Cowboys in the playoffs. So, yeah, just put us out of our misery, Washington.
Fair.
Yeah, Washington. You think the Cowboys would beat the Giants? Is that what you
I do see.
Going?
I see this. I see a scenario where the Cowboys can beat the Giants. So that's why I say Washington just needs to beat us. Not only that, but to, kind of help us with our draft stock a little bit, and just keep the Cowboys out of the playoffs.
Yeah, the Cowboys already played their way out of the top 5, at least. I think they're out of the top 10, I believe. So
personally, I think that Washington's going to get beat by the Eagles. And for me, I think it's going to come down. I don't know why. I just have a hunch. And I think that it's going to come down to the Cowboys and Giants. And for some reason, I'm just kind of leaning the Giants' way. I feel like the Giants are going to knock off the Cowboys. They've been playing really badly the last couple weeks. So they got beat by the Cardinals. Daniel Jones has been hurt. It's kind of been a mess, to be honest with you. They had literally no momentum whatsoever going into this game against the Cowboys, especially because the Cowboys are hot right now. They won 3 in a row, beating us last week and then the Niners before that. So I don't know. I just have a feeling that the Giants are going to pull this out somehow. I just feel like they're going to step up and win, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. A lot to dive into.
And before we officially go into the basketball topic, I have a couple of words I got to get. Since this is a new year, and I started this, around the time of the Doug Peterson era, but this will be the second annual Burnt Toast of the Year award. All right, now for those of you that missed last year's episode, this award goes to the worst, and I mean the absolute worst, defensive back on said Philadelphia Eagle team. Now, this one was very difficult to, decide because you had
for good reasons.
You had, incompetent Jalen Mills, and at first I was gonna put Darius Slay up there. I'm like, no, he doesn't deserve it. And then after the performance of Michael Jacquet, he made a strong running, and I was like, no, that's not fair. Then after looking at the film of Mike Epps, I'm saying to myself, nah, that ain't fair either. I can't put Mike Epps up there. I got to put a guy who was slated to start, who is really out of position. It's not really his fault, but hey. The award does not discriminate. Your 2020 Burnt Toast of the Year award recipient, Avonte Maddox, ladies and gentlemen. Avonte stinking Maddox. All right.
Thank God, too, because you know why? I was going to say the same as that guy. And I haven't been a fan of Avonte Maddox since that Packers game last season. He deserves it 110%. Hopefully he's gone. Hopefully he hasn't even played this last week, and hopefully he's not even in the locker room to see the team. When the season ends, hopefully he's already gone. That's how bad I think he is of a player. He really is.
And a special shout out to Josh Norman for completely getting destroyed by Derrick Henry.
Well, see, this is not 2015, but cut him some slack. So let's dive in. I know we're running out of time here. We don't have a lot of time on the Sixers, but I do want to touch on how great of a season they've had so far. I mean, besides that Cleveland, debacle without Joel Embiid, which I don't even count when Joel Embiid doesn't play. He had back stiffness, blah blah, whatever. But on a roll, I think that Toronto win really showed us something. Be able to outcoach and outwork Nick Nurse, one of the better coaches in the league, in my opinion. He's great. But overall, what you've seen from Embiid so far, and one guy that I've been pretty skeptical about is Tobias Harris. He's been playing great basketball this season. Everything just feels different. Yeah, watch this team play, especially against Orlando. That blowout when they had on Thursday night, just great to see. And there's more of a connection, I feel like, with these guys. And Embiid, the rotations of what Doc Rivers has been able to do, and Embiid, playing hopefully the majority of the games. I don't want to jinx it, but please, Embiid, we need you. Please, God, don't get hurt, because that's what's going to happen. We saw what could happen, I should say, against Cleveland. But the Knicks game, again, another strong effort. So what did you guys see? You guys expect us to be where we are right now? I know the Brooklyn Nets are still there, even though we're ahead of them. But do you expect us to be that 5 or 6 seed, which we kind of thought they were, or have these guys in the early season going on so far? really
something like that.
pique your interest, and we think we get higher than maybe just a 5.
Yeah, something like that, 5, 6. The highest I see us going is maybe 3, maybe 4. But yeah, 5, 6 is pretty much where we're at because the way we played, in Cleveland without Joel Embiid, that was just ridiculous, man. Like Cleveland dominated us in the paint, and that's something we have to pay attention to, and that's one of the reasons why we went out supposedly and signed Dwight Howard, was to fix up, people scoring against us in the paint when Joel Embiid isn't out. So, that was a little disappointing, but I think for the most part, this team is a really good team. And the one thing I like is the ball movement. I love that they're looking for, the good shot instead of just forcing things from the perimeter all the time. Now they're stepping inside sometimes, shooting some twos. And I like the fact that Joel Embiid is working more inside, face up, backing down. I love that. That's the one thing that I've wanted to see out of Joel Embiid. And
I agree.
And everybody knows how I feel about Ben Simmons and things of that nature. So, and everybody knows how I feels about, Tanner Gil-Martin sending me, shots of Ben Simmons hitting threes.
Hey, it wasn't me this time. It wasn't me this time.
Whoever it is, I kid you not, in the year 2021, when we are finally able to come together again, I kid you not, I'm coming after y'all. Y'all know better than to post Ben Simmons shooting a damn 3. What is wrong with y'all? And I mean, my phone is blowing up for ESPN and whatnot. What is wrong with y'all? All right,
it was contagious. It was contagious, T, because Dwight Howard also knocked down a 3, and they both combined for 11 for 92 shooting behind the arc.
Now
so let that sink into you.
Now that's fine. Dwight Howard shooting the 3. Dwight Howard really ain't supposed to be shooting 3. So yes, that's an accomplishment. But Ben Simmons as my point guard, yes, I expect him to shoot 3s. I don't want to see every single time that he shoot a 3 that Twitter and ESPN goes wild. I'm sick of this at this point. And you know what? I don't know which one of y'all did it on the Instagram page, but I kid you not. When I see y'all, I kid you not.
Boots to asses.
Don't blame Chris on this. That ain't fair. He ain't even here to defend himself. What is the matter with y'all?
It's all seriousness, though. After seeing Ben Simmons the first games, we were impressed. We're saying, we don't need James Harden. Get James Harden out of here. The conversation, let it be gone. But that loss to the Cavs, the conversation came back with James Harden and the discussion of that. And for me to think is the conversation was about the Sixers was can Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons play together? And I think that's the only way they can play now together, because Ben Simmons does not shine really as a team leader without Joel Embiid.
He's not a shooter.
Joel Embiid scoring leader. So for me to think that we were concerned if they could play together, that's for me, that's what it proved, that they can only play together, because when Joel Embiid is not in the game, this team does not play as good, and that's just a fact.
Yeah, I want to give you guys the floor still if you have anything else to add. I want to touch on my last point, and then before we wrap it up.
All right, man. I'm good. I didn't say my piece. Just know I'm coming after y'all for that Ben Simmons.
He already ranted about the 3.
Yeah.
All right, I'll finish this up then to finish this topic up. I think one thing I want to look at, especially against Orlando, is the fact that Furkan Korkmaz has been out now, and I was never a fan of Furkan. A lot of people have actually been coming at me saying, he's a good shooter. We need him out there, blah, blah. I just don't like him.
That's ludicrous.
He doesn't really do much for you. I get it. When he gets hot from 3, he can stuff a stat sheet. I get it. But I think Matisse Thybulle is just a better player overall. When he gets the opportunity, like he's gotten against Orlando specifically, he can really show out. His shot looks like he's not hesitant, especially early on, because he looked hesitant. He looked the drive and then he would be passive and then turn the ball over, things like that. He looked just in rhythm, in sync. I think he's the 10th guy on this team right now, ahead of Furkan, even when he comes back, if he continues to play this way. I love our bench depth with Maxey and Shake Milton being able to attack, get to the free throw line, draw fouls. Dwight Howard been a great backup center so far. He draws his handful or fair share of fouls, I should say. I think he came in against the Magic, had 2 fouls in 2 minutes, but he uses up those fouls, and he's been a great backup center for Joel Embiid early on.
Yeah. I also want to say to you guys and to the people listening that don't get comfortable with this bench, because Daryl Morey almost never keeps the bench going past the trade deadline. There will be some moves, and this team right now, to me, there's going to be changes before the deadline, and we can't be more successful. We will be a little more successful than the previous seasons, but in order for us to finally get past the round that we have not been able to for the past years, the bench is definitely going to change, and we're going to have to part ways with some some fan favorites. I feel like.
Possibly, I agree, and we'll see at the trade deadline. You know, obviously, a lot of things can happen, a lot of things go down, especially in recent memory.
Yep.
If you're a Sixers fan, I look back and think about Ersan Ilyasova and Marco Bellinelli specifically.
Yeah.
But you know, to end it on that note, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna tell you right now, this team looks different this year. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna shout out to Seth Curry and shout out to Danny Green. Keep shooting those 3 balls.
Except for
Hopefully
Danny Green. Danny Green working on your threes.
It's hot. You know,
It started a little slow. It started a little.
He's a
slow.
veteran guy. He'll get it.
What's
he'll
he
get
here
things
for?
turned around though too. All right, he'll get things turned around.
All right,
But with that, let's shut it down.
All right, you guys missed any of this first episode of the 2021 year, you can always go to philly-experience.simplecast.com, available on all major downloadable platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, the entire shabazz. Yo, I'm telling y'all right now, I'm not wishing anybody a happy new year because the last time I did that, 2020 happened. So you know what? Y'all just gonna listen, stay safe. That's all y'all getting out of me this year. All right, I'm seriously, I don't want to go through another 2020 again. I take no chances.
I think we're all in agreement with you there.
Just saying.
Everybody stay safe.
You piece of Swiss cheese.
Blaney, what's that?
Bunch of lowlifes.
My turn! I'm not giving Jerry Jones my money. F that guy.
Kind of circumcising the mosquito.